Hey, buddy. What do you think of these, huh? No? Oh, well. So I just did my first run in the Hoka. So I just did my first run in the Hoka Cielo X1. And it was a 21-mile run, averaging kind of in the high 7-minute paces, in the 740s somewhere, which, usually I try and do my LSD runs, kind of in the low 8s, maybe high 7s, but these, they felt as good in the 21st mile as they did in the first mile. I know they are a racing shoe that you could potentially do some training in. I think they would serve well as a training shoe that you could potentially do some racing in, kind of in the same way as you would for the Adidas Prime X or Prime X Strong. There's a lot of roll, there's a lot of bounce, and they feel like there's definitely a lot more shoe to them than something like the Hoka Rocket X2. So I'm going to get a few more runs in them before I do a shoe talk. So this is almost kind of a miniature shoe off. I say miniature because I'm not going to be running a long distance. And the reason is I'm comparing the Hoka Cielo X1 with all of these other shoes, with the right foot in the Cielo X1 and the left foot in each of these other shoes, which are the Adidas Prime X Strong, the first version, because I did not get the second, the Asics Super Blast, the Nike Alpha Fly 2, not the Alpha Fly 3, and there's a reason for that, the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2, and, its little brother, the Hoka Rocket X2. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. One down. The Prime X is a little bit sloppier, for sure. Super Blast time. It's odd. I know the Super Blast is taller, I know this, but the Hoka seems like it's higher up off the ground, the Cielo X1. Interesting. Alpha Fly 2, the super shoe that has become a super trainer in my rotation. Alpha Fly 2, certainly softer in the heel, but that's not really how I run. I would kind of have to force that heel strike in order to take advantage of that. The Cielo X1, after a couple minutes, is vastly more comfortable. Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2, Battle of the Crazy Rockers. Here we go. So often thinking about hitting that sweet spot in the midfoot. The Mizuno has a little bit more response. But the Hoka Cielo X, I don't really have to think about it. It just kind of rolls through it. All right, so this was educational. I almost forgot. I would have been remiss for not including the Hoka Rocket X2 with a side-by-side, foot-to-foot comparison. I mean, they're both Hoka PIBA carbon-plated racers, so gotta do it, right? All right, Hoka v. Hoka. All right, you can definitely tell these shoes share a similar heritage, the same proprietary form of PIBA for sure, but the Cielo X1 definitely has more of it. Interesting comparison.
Second run in the Hoka Cielo X1. Just over 10 miles. I did 30 minutes of warm-up, then 30 minutes at marathon pace, and then I guess it was about 15 minutes of cool down. I'm losing my voice. Played a gig a couple nights ago and been trying to fight something off, so forgive my voice. But yeah, interesting at marathon pace. The first mile of marathon pace, it was around like 6:40 pace, which is about a 2:55 pace, and I was thinking, am I tired, or are these not gliding? But then, you know, not even really thinking about it, just thinking about cruising and, you know, feathering on a slightly rolling route, which was back and forth into the wind and out of the wind. That pace kind of just came down on its own. It would be interesting to try them at a longer marathon effort, but I do have a workout tomorrow where they're going to go through a whole bunch of different paces, so I wanted to save some of that effort. All right, more to come.
All right, so it's just past 4:30 in the morning. I'm about to go on my third run in the Hoka Cielo X1, and this one's going to be a workout. It's going to be a mixed road and track workout that's going to really go through all of the paces that I haven't run in it yet, and I'm just going to display that workout on the screen right now. So yeah, I will get back to you during and after this run to kind of hopefully get some thoughts together and then put a comprehensive shoe talk together.
All right, 15 minutes are done. About ready to slip into solid state pace for a while. Here we go. Finish the solid state piece at about 6:18 pace, 6:17. About ready to start the half marathon pace, which will be 4 or 5 seconds per mile faster for 6 minutes. Going slightly uphill now. We'll see how that works. All right, I managed about 6:14 or 6:15 for the HMP, and I've got about 50 seconds before I dip into kind of an LT, lactate threshold pace, which is close to a 15K or 10-mile race pace. We'll see what that does today. About 6:04 or 6:05 for the threshold. Probably a little bit faster than I think I can go for 10 miles right now, but a good effort. 30 seconds before a 2-minute block of 10K effort. All right, so for the 10K effort, I was kind of sailing at sub 6, 5:55, 5:54. I think I had a little help on that. Kind of a gently downhill elevation profile there, maybe like -1%. And knowing that it was only 2 minutes. So far I'm liking these through those paces. Now to jog over to the track to do the track ladder and rip some faster paces in them. 800, 252. It's about where I want to be for 8K pace. Go, Derek. All right, starting 600. Go. 600 did not feel good. It's just that part of the workout though. It's time to see CMF. All right, last rep coming up. 200 meters. Starting at the end of the straightaway. All right, I am done with the ladder workout. Road ladder followed by the track ladder. And that makes 42 miles over 3 runs in the Hoka Cielo X1 with a variety of paces, everything from marathon pace yesterday to every pace on down to a little bit faster than mile pace today. And a long run I did on Sunday, 4 days, 3 runs, 42 miles in this shoe. I think I have a pretty good idea how they feel. So yeah, let me get all that edited together and we'll do a nice shoe talk and I'll tell you what I really think.
Okay, it's shoe talk time. Talking about the Hoka Cielo X1. I'm just gonna go ahead and address the elephant in the room first. If you are someone who obsesses about getting the lightest possible race day shoe, if you're someone who takes your shoes and puts them on the digital scale and counts every ounce in gram before you ever run in them, look elsewhere. It's not a light race day shoe, but it's not a heavy shoe, period, and it is fun. If you're someone who wants a shoe that you could take on race day, but is going to be fun for every mile you run in it, this is worth considering. I enjoyed every one of the miles I've run in the Hoka Cielo X1 so far. It's been 42 miles with every pace from my easy run pace all the way down to 1 mile race pace, and every pace in between. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. We'll start with the upper. The upper it has kind of a corduroy look to it, kind of a corduroy feel, but it's very comfortable. It's more comfortable than it looks. I thought that this cuff might add some irritation on my Achilles. It did not. The heel counter, there's some rigidity there, but not too much. Certainly a lot more than its cousin, the Rocket X2, but not so rigid as some of the other shoes that I'm going to talk about today. The tongue is gusseted on both sides. I'm not sure if you can see in there. You can tell I did replace the laces because, as other reviewers have said, the laces are straight trash. They are plasticky. They don't stay tied. And you'll know that when you're trying to lock down the shoe for the first time that those laces aren't going to work. So if you are considering this shoe, I would consider spending the extra $5 or $10, buy another pair of laces, or take the laces off a pair of shoes you're not using anymore. These work great. The good thing about this lacing system is that once you get a decent pair of laces, it will stay locked down. It will be set it and forget it after that. The midsole is where the magic is, of course. Dual layer of PIBA midsole, 2 different densities, dual density. I've got the softer layer on top, the firmer, even though I wouldn't call it firm, more responsive layer on the bottom, and that winged carbon fiber plate in there. That plate, you could really tell you're loading and popping each time. The rockered midsole is very apparent, and it just glides so easily. It glides, but also bounces at the same time. And no matter what pace I ran in, I felt like I was engaging the full potential of this shoe. Outsole, very extensive outsole coverage for what some would consider a race day shoe. So that is going to protect the midsole and add a lot to in the longevity of the shoe. Lots of cutouts to save weight, also to give you a view of that carbon fiber plate there. I've only picked up a few hitchhikers. I think I'm going to pick up hitchhikers in any kind of super shoe that has a recess in the midsole like this, but that's fine. Kind of reminiscent of the Saucony Endorphin Elite there with the gap there on the lateral side. But again, you don't notice that gap, you just notice the smooth roll. Yeah, talking about the weight, it's somewhere in the high 8-ounce range for me. I don't weigh my shoes. You know, I look at the specs, but I try not to get caught up in the specs before I run in them, because then I'm just thinking about the specs. If I were to weigh my shoes before I ran in them, that number on the scale would be all I feel when I'm running in them. But I tried this on in a local running store at the same time as the New Balance SC Elite V4. I was kind of, because they both dropped on the same day. And I went with this one. I had one on each foot, and the New Balance just did not seem lively compared to this. I wasn't worried about the weight, obviously. This felt good. It felt fun. This is something that I would choose for more than just a race day. I would use it for some races, like some hilly or long races, like a road ultra, like, you know, Comrades Marathon, or you know, the Boogie 50 miler here in North Carolina, or maybe even some 100 miles like Umstead. You know, like an ultra, this is a great ultra shoe. Or a really hard hilly marathon, like the Charlotte Marathon is so hilly that you're usually not playing for a PR there. I would enjoy all my miles in this if I were running that marathon. Maybe even some really hard hilly halves where I'm not worried about a PR. So, am I going to compare this to the Saucony Endorphin Elite? No. The Nike Alpha Fly 3? No. Those are going to be, you know, rocket ships. Those are going to be bullets that I'm going to save for race day. If I'm talking about enjoying this shoe, I'm not going to spend $275 on a shoe that I'm only going to wear for race day if this is what I'm getting. You know, that's kind of an Alpha Fly or Endorphin Elite, you know, buy. This one, I'd be spending it on something that I'm going to enjoy for a lot more than race day. So I'm not going to compare it to the Endorphin Elite or the Alpha Fly 3. I would compare it to the shoes that you saw me running with side by side. I think the closest comparison is going to be with this, the Adidas Prime X Strong, the first version. The second version I haven't ran in. Those who worry about the weight with this one, you can't talk about it if you run in the Prime X Strong 2, because that is, in my size, 9.5 US, more than 2 ounces heavier than this. These two shoes are about the same weight. The Prime X Strong original version 1 and the Cielo X1. They kind of have I think the people who would want to use this would enjoy this. This one's race legal. This one is not. Also, as I was running in them side by side, the Prime X Strong always kind of feels all over the place, very unstable, especially in the rear foot. I never felt unstable in this. Walking around, you might think, wow, this isn't going to be very stable. But on the run, it just rolls. So that got me to thinking, let me try it with the Super Blast too. You know, if this is going to be a racer / super trainer, I'll compare it to this. The Super Blast, which is an energetic shoe and very stable, it feels a lot less energetic than this. Maybe because this is full PIBA with a carbon plate, and this is only PIBA in the Flight Foam Turbo with the Flight Foam Plus down here. This is very trainery, and some people might race in it. This is trainer racer or racer trainer. And this felt like it was higher off the ground than the Super Blast, even though I know that there are 47 or 43, 40 something millimeters in the heel here. In fact, some people might also compare it to the New Balance Super Comp trainer line, and this totally trainer, not race day for me. This can do so much more, and it's much more fun to run in, not as disappointing. With this huge rocker effect, I also had to try it side by side with the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro. And if you've seen my recent review of this, it's not that I have anything against this shoe, I just think it's very niche. And with me, it wasn't quite as natural as I thought it would be with me being a midfoot striker. I got the dramatic roll effect off of the Cielo X, less pronounced but still very rolly, without having to think about it, without it, you know, being on my mind like the shoe is. The Mizuno is going to be a lot lighter, airier, definitely race day only, but like I said, with this, I don't know, I just want to reach for this more. If anything, I'll be using this for the same kind of runs that I would be using the Alpha Fly 2 for. And if you've seen my review of the Alpha Fly 3, the Alpha Fly 2 is going to be kind of a trainer companion to the Alpha Fly 3, because the Alpha Fly 2 was a dud. Not a bad shoe, but not a good race shoe. And it's not all that much lighter than the Cielo X. Very soft in the heel, the Alpha Fly 2 is, but this one just feels more energetic throughout the gait cycle, not two different pieces like the Alpha Fly 2 does. So, if I'm thinking Hoka v Hoka for a race day, I would go with the Rocket X2, no question. Again, if I'm going for a PR race, it's going to be Alpha Fly 3, Saucony Endorphin Elite, or Hoka Rocket X2. I might do some key training in the Rocket X2, but this one, the Cielo X1, I don't know, I'm not going to save it just for race day. It might cost a little bit more, but I think it will also outlast the Rocket X2. And while I don't think I can race as many distances, like I could take the Rocket X2 for 5K, 10K, even though it's more of a, I think half marathon to marathon shoe. This one's more of a marathon shoe, but I want to take this on more runs. If I had to buy only one of these, I would still go with the Rocket X2. And if you're looking for a race day shoe, go Rocket X2. But if you're able to try this on, just get it on your feet and ignore those original laces, then I would love to hear your opinion of it. Have you bought this? Have you tried it on? Have you kept it around for a couple runs and not just, looked at the laces or looked at the weight and decided to send it back? Let me know what you think. Try it on versus your other shoes. I'm not saying that this is going to be your number one marathon shoe. For some people it might be, but it's a fun shoe. I would like to see it not priced at $275, but I have no regrets for picking it up. It's an interesting shoe, and I guess my final thought would be I will be interested to see what they do with the version 2 of it in a year or however long it takes. So thanks for watching my shoe talk about the Hoka Cielo X1, and please like, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications, and we'll see you on the next run.